Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. Welcome back to another News I Missed, where I go over news I missed. Always a lot of stuff happening during the week. It's impossible to fit it into, even during a normal week, if I'm making 2 to 3 videos per day. There's still a whole bunch of other stuff that I simply can't cover, so I cover it on the weekends, and here we are. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Bitcoin's recent rally won't hurt gold's stance as the preferred hedge asset, as both can coexist. This was reported or said by Goldman Sachs. With Bitcoin climbing to a new all-time high, the cryptocurrency has garnered the attention of centralized financial institutions. Goldman Sachs Group Inc. offered its views on the market and said that Bitcoin's rise shouldn't threaten gold's position as the inflation hedge of choice, as both assets can coexist. Ever since Bitcoin's creation, the primary cryptocurrency has been largely compared to gold due to their common attributes, such as a limited supply, but only one of them is actually limited. However, while this narrative was primarily breached by Bitcoin proponents in the past, the comparison has seen adoption from numerous traditional financial organizations in 2020. And while various institutions claimed that Bitcoin has become Gold 2.0 and could take its place, Goldman Sachs has argued that both assets could work simultaneously. So first of all, before I begin, I will tip my hat in their direction in that they're understanding that there won't be a world without Bitcoin. Even them saying that they can coexist is them knowing that Bitcoin is not going to disappear and that Bitcoin is going to continue rising. The slight issue that I have with a lot of this is that I've seen, you've seen, us have seen all together that every single bank that hated Bitcoin or bet against Bitcoin has said that Bitcoin wasn't going to do something or said that Bitcoin was yada, yada, yada. They've all bent the knee. Nicest way of saying it. They all accept Bitcoin. They know that Bitcoin's going to continuously be around. I would even go as far as to say, now here's an assumption because I am not Goldman Sachs, if all the other banks in the world are doing their numbers and they are investing inside of Bitcoin, and Goldman Sachs, being one of the largest banks on the planet, probably has a pretty good idea themselves, as you know, they probably have people working on the numbers, that Bitcoin's price is, while it may be currently undervalued, is only going to continue to increase. At some point, that's going to eat into the gold market and gold's price, and people will start selling off their gold in an effort to actually buy more Bitcoin. We know this is going to happen. We've seen this happening. We've seen the reports of other banks talking about that this is already happening. So for Goldman Sachs to say that this is just simply not going to take place or that they're going to coexist together is absolute nonsense, because we keep finding more gold in the earth every single year. So I'm one of the people who actually expects gold's price to continue dropping, as we've been seeing the last couple of months, that Bitcoin's price continues rising. We're probably going to see a $300 gold within the next 3 to 5 years. And I think it's going to shock a lot of people. But these are, when you look at the actual adoption curve, remember the curve that we were going over in last video, where it showed like the kind of the stragglers getting into the market. These will be the people who help Bitcoin's price go up to over $1 million. Even just on that, I got to thinking, because there have been so many banks who've been talking for years and years and years and years, and I just kind of want to give like a bit of an insight as to why, because I know some people ask sometimes, like, why are you so bullish on Bitcoin? Like, why do you pay so much attention to Bitcoin? First of all, the news is paying attention to Bitcoin. It's not just me. I bring the news, and the news is 95% of the time heavily Bitcoin focused. Here's the actual article right here. It says, Goldman says Bitcoin's rising popularity doesn't endanger gold. They know for a fact that gold is going down. Even if we give it a time frame of 3 to 5 years, Bitcoin's market cap is going to surpass gold or reach near parity. And then you start talking about, once again, the next 4 years, the next 8 years, the next so-and-so, and all the other halvings that are going to continue happening. For those of you who've never seen these things before, I mean, have a good look. You can definitely find them on the internet. People have been talking about that Bitcoin wasn't going to do something, or Bitcoin wasn't going to make it, or Bitcoin wasn't going to succeed since around 2010, early 2011. Once Bitcoin had an actual value. Because in the very beginning, people were simply trading Bitcoin on different platforms or whatever, and it didn't really have like a number amount until it hit like 1 cent and then 10 cents, and it kind of really went from there. I'm going to show you these quickly, and it's things like this that make me know that Bitcoin has a huge amount of legs, huge amount of longevity, and that Bitcoin is poised to take over the entire world. And Goldman Sachs knows that, so I don't know why they're even releasing things that they're going to continue coexisting. Maybe it's a lot of it just has to be, I want to say fear. Like the world is changing very, very fast, and to have put, I can only assume, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into a metal that you told everyone else was going to continue making it. You as a bank probably don't feel responsible enough to say, hey, the thing that we told you all to get a couple of years ago that was going to be the best thing in the entire world is now going to be replaced by numbers on a screen. So I think it's just kind of something like that. This one's from 2013. It says the Bitcoin bubble has burst. This one is from Kron. It says why Bitcoin is doomed to fail from 2013. The SEC shows why Bitcoin is doomed. August 8th, 2013. A prediction, Bitcoin is doomed to fail. November 27th, 2013 from the New York Times. And this one says, it's from a finance professor, so you know he knows what he's talking about. Bitcoin will crash to $10 by mid-2014. Whenever I hear that there is a technical analyst, a finance professor, someone from Stanford, someone who did this person has this degree and this person has this piece of paper that says that they so-and-so, people tend to pay attention, but I don't, because I know that it's all complete nonsense. You know how many professors and world analysts and World Bank this and so and so and so and Peter Schiff, there have actually Peter Schiff and what's the other guy's name? Nouriel Roubini. These are the final two dominoes who will just not give up when it comes to Bitcoin. They keep claiming they don't care about it. It's nothing. It's going to go away. But they spend days on Twitter telling people how much of a farce this is. And you can even find articles for years. They've been telling people that Bitcoin is not real. Bitcoin's a bubble since it was around $300-400. The point is, Bitcoin is going to continue to do very well. We know this because of the network effect and also because of math. There are more people getting into Bitcoin every single day. We heard last video, there's 1.7% of the entire world, the human population, is into Bitcoin. Imagine when we hit 5% and 7% and eventually hit 10%. Because it's definitely more than 1 out of every 10 people walking down the street now who knows about Bitcoin. And there's more people buying Bitcoin every single day. Anyway, the point is, Goldman Sachs said that Bitcoin isn't as amazing as gold and they're going to coexist together, which is a complete lie. Goldman Sachs knows it. And without further ado, find these articles. They're everywhere. This is why the internet is so fascinating, because everything that someone has written or has said is somewhere floating around in the ether right now. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the Goldman Sachs news that we missed. And without further ado, let's move on. Next up, in news that's not really news, and I'll explain why in a couple of seconds, people in China have conducted roughly 20,000 transactions through e-commerce company JD in a trial of the country's digital yuan. According to local media outlet Global Times, JD reported that 80% of participants born in the 1980s and 1990s, and I'll tell you exactly why that was put in there, used the platform to conduct transactions in the digital currency starting on Friday evening, with at least one transaction larger than $1,527. Incredible. There's a huge belief, and there has been for the last couple of years, because and I think they finally got it, but it's still this mindset that they need to kind of get over. Years ago, people thought that the entire reason why people were buying Bitcoin and buying crypto assets besides the actual price rise is that they wanted digital things. This was a new trend. Everyone was moving digital, and people wanted to simply be able to tap their card or look at a screen and hold it up to something and say, hey, I paid digitally as opposed to with cash. The idea has also been that people born within the 80s or born around the 90s who are considered millennials are going to have a massive amount of wealth transfer given to them by the older generations when they pass on to the great beyond. So the idea of people born between the 80s and 90s using this brand new system just goes to show how popular it actually is, because this new trend line is definitely following. People aren't into Bitcoin because it's digital. People aren't into Bitcoin because it looks wild and amazing and it's cool and it's new. It's because the current monetary system is absolute garbage, and this is why people are paying more attention to Bitcoin, because they realize that inflation is a thing, devaluation of a currency is a thing, prices rising is definitely also a thing. So the way to get away from that, and a way to also, I guess, have a piece of the new world currency, is to also buy into Bitcoin. So this is why the 1980s, 1990s thing is there, because it may seem a bit like, why did they throw that into it? It's the entire idea that young people are going to move the world's economy forward. And it's millennials who are going to benefit the most, or rather the people who are into digital XY yada, yada, yada the most. And therefore, if they're using it, well, then gosh darn it, it's one big success. The e-commerce site also reported the numbers as the city of Tsutsu conducted a real-world trial for the digital yuan at the Double 12 shopping festival, in which 10,000 physical storefronts locations participated. For those of you who don't know, this country right here, we've spoken about it before. I'm not going to go over for too long. What's the nicest way of saying this? We keep getting news quite often stating that there's some type of a new record or huge new amount of people who are using China's digital currency and how crazy it is, and the numbers are always record breaking. First of all, people within these borders don't really have a choice when it comes to what they do. And I know that may sound a bit extreme, but it's just the actual truth. They're from their media, from their news to their newspapers to even where they actually transact and talk to people. You may not know this. There are, I think, one or two actual apps that people are kind of corralled or walked into actually using, and one of the most popular apps, I can't remember the exact name of it, and it should because it's the most popular one that's there. You can book a doctor's appointment, you can pay your bills, you can buy groceries, you can text your friends, and all these other things, and send payments all through one entire app. And all that information, guess who all that information is shared with? The government. So the government is basically trying to make sure that people switch to this new system because they really don't have a choice. So this is why I said it's news, but it's really not news, because we keep getting this news all the time. Like, it's a success. And they had something, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where they airdropped all this money onto people. If you airdrop anything onto anyone, they're going to use it. Imagine if someone stopped by your home right now and gave you $500. You'd be like, okay, well, I got to use this $500. So people are going to continue using this. It's not really news per se, but this was one of the most popular news stories of the last week, is that people were using China's digital currency. They're going to use it because they won't have a choice in the future. And even more so right now, if you don't know what Google the Sesame credit score. Once again, the Sesame credit score, and you'll see that people are actually rewarded with points if they do good things. So yeah, I assume if, they make a new digital currency and tell other people to use it, I'm pretty sure people who are actually using it are receiving extra credit points, or like social points, which is also hyper dystopian and Black Mirror. But anyway, that's the news. They're trying to do everything that they can to make sure that people use these things that they don't really want to use. But once again, these currencies will continue to be inflationary. This was a question that I got many other times before, and I'm glad that it stopped, because people used to always say, well, what purpose does Bitcoin have if they digitize the US dollar? It's still the US dollar. It's still going to be inflated. It's still going to be devalued next to Bitcoin as Bitcoin's halving continues and Bitcoin supply ends up lowering and becomes more scarce, because we know that there's only a set amount of Bitcoin, but the US dollar is going to be inflated into infinity. So anyway, that's that news. What's this one? It's the same exact thing. Yeah, this is the actual news story. Sure, why not? And let's move on. Next up, there are now $1 billion worth of Ethereum locked up in the first step of Ethereum's network upgrade, Ethereum 2.0. There are now a total of 1.5 million Ether in Ethereum's 2.0 deposit by Ethereum's current price of $660. This equates to more than $1 billion worth of Ether locked inside of the protocol. It's going to continue happening. More people are going to continue putting their money into this. I think that the next big wave, because while 1.5 million is a lot, it's not as much as I think there is actually going to be within the next 6 or 7 months. Should the cryptocurrency market continue to skyrocket, and should we start getting complete, more accurate numbers as to exactly how much money people are making, i.e., I put my Ether into Ethereum 7 months ago, and I've been making a consistent 8 to 12% over the course of that time. This is going to cause more people to actually get into not only the market, but also start buying up more Ether to be able to make this passive income. But Sure, why not? Of course, there's going to be more Ether locked inside of the protocol because people want to make passive income. This is why we keep hearing little smidges of news that Grayscale is buying up more Ethereum and so is looking at Ethereum because they all want to be able to make money without having to do anything. That's the literal dream, if you kind of want to look at it that way. So that's the Ethereum locked up news. And let's move on. Next up, U.S. blockchain and AI infrastructure provider Core Scientific has expanded its fleet of state-of-the-art crypto miners to over 77,000, comprising the largest ever group of Bitcoin miners, Bitmain and miner S19 rigs outside of China. There we go. Core Scientific, which offers a mix of hosted crypto mixing and data science computation, ordered the miners earlier this year. The company announced on Thursday that it had procured an additional 59,000 S19 and S19 Pro and miners. So the news is, and we've been getting this quite a lot, and I think this trend is only going to continue. We know that China has a large amount, a huge portion of the Bitcoin mining power, capacity, hash rate, whatever word you kind of want to throw at it. And there's been a couple of years that they have controlled the majority of the pie. A lot of people are like, they don't like it because yada yada, and they want the mining power to kind of be more evenly distributed. Sure, why not? Go for it. So the news that we got in 2018 was that there were a couple of companies who were going to be building themselves outward to be able to make cryptocurrency mining factory farms, whatever, to take away some of the power from the other regions. And alas, I guess here we are. This is why they said a group of Bitcoin miners run outside of China because China controls the majority of it. What was the news that we just had as well? There was some other company who's also doing something similar to like a cryptocurrency mining farm. Sure, why not? I'm glad that people are doing what they actually said they were going to be doing, because it happens quite often that someone's like, we're going to take over, and then they actually do nothing. So sure, more machines on the network help to secure the network even more, and it becomes more robust. And also, if you feel comfortable having more hash power in your country, then go for it. Go and do it so that, all the things are not centralized in one place, because that's been the conversation for such a long amount of time. I still wonder what happened to that blockchain city in Nevada. I always wonder. It was like 2018 that we heard about that, and I don't think we've heard anything about it since. Anyway, sure, cool. Core Scientific, 59,000 machines, or rather 77,000 machines. How wonderful to have a mega factory full of money-making machines. And without further ado, let's move on. Next up, Latin America's biggest and most prestigious university, the Mexico-based National Autonomous University of Mexico, or UNAM, will launch a financial engineering course with modules that reportedly cover subjects such as crypto and blockchain technology. In its December bulletin, the UNAM explained that its new course would last 2 semesters. Why'd I hold up 2 numbers? In the case of full-time students, with part-time students needing to attend for a period of 4 semesters. That makes sense because per Crypto Noticias, the course will reportedly see students look at how crypto and blockchain are used on the financial markets. This was kind of popular like a day or 2 ago. And sometimes, man, we get news and I sit there and I'm like, I get it, but did this news have to be popular? I don't know. So there are a number of crypto universities offering cryptocurrency courses. And I'm pretty sure as well, I don't really know. I think Coursera also has free cryptocurrency courses as well. I hope people take advantage of these things, not saying that you necessarily have to do it, but I like when people learn more. I remember being really annoyed when I got older, growing up, realizing that not only did I have to pay taxes, but I didn't know how to pay taxes. Like, no one talks to you. When you're in high school, even younger, no one talks to you about a mortgage, taking out debt, credit cards, and how the world really works. I think we had like an economics class, but nothing real world. Remember those math classes where it's like, you walk by a pair of jeans and the jeans are $47.23. What's 15% of 1/3 of 1/8 of the price of it when you walk to the counter because the machine isn't working and you have to tell the woman the price? And I was like, why? So you do these things, but that doesn't really help you in the real world. Like, why are there no courses when you're 15 to be like, okay, in a couple of years, you got to pay taxes. In a couple of years, you got to learn about this. You know what inflation is? And then like really go over everything. But I guess that's not how the system is actually. The system's not made so that you actually learn. It's more of a. Anyway, cool. The biggest university in Mexico is going to have a cryptocurrency course. I assume people will be taking advantage of that. Hopefully. And as always, do your own research because, logic. Let's move on. Next up, Sandy O'Connor, the former Chief Regulatory Affairs Officer for JP Morgan Chase, is joining Ripple's board of directors. The company announced on Tuesday. O'Connor will provide counsel on government relations and regulatory initiatives for the company's next phase as Ripple expands and seeks regulatory clarity within the United States. The announcement comes as San Francisco-based Ripple is openly contemplating relocating its headquarters. No, they're not. Ripple's not going anywhere, and they know it. Ripple's not moving anywhere. They keep saying that over and over. They know good and well that they're not going anywhere. The point being, first of all, Ripple's in the news once again a lot more. It keeps happening all the time. They're like almost daily that they're actually in the news, which is kind of weird because they weren't there before. They're hiring a lot of people, like all the time. Ripple's board of directors, even a couple of years ago, was basically made of people from the SEC, the CFTC, former comptrollers of currency, the guy who made the Bitcoin law in New York State. Bernanke? I think that's his name. The point is, they keep hiring all these high-profile people. I assume it's basically for not only regulations, but to have these big names. You want to hire people who know other people. It's not simply, wow, you've been there for 25 years. You want to make sure that everyone you're hiring kind of knows everyone. This is why, once again, they had people from the CFTC and the SEC on their board of directors. But I think they're a bit annoyed, and I would be too, to be honest. There's no regulatory clarity that's coming their way, I think, anytime soon. And we heard from, I don't know if it was Garlinghouse or Schwartz, who basically said before, hey, we need some regulatory clarity so that they said there are tons of banks who like our products, and then they ask us how the regulatory situation is, and we can't answer them, so they kind of shy away. So should one day, and the really stupid part is that regardless if XRP is declared a security or a commodity, won't have really any major negative effect on the price. If it's a commodity, it's traded the same exact way as Bitcoin. If it's a security, it's just that everything that happens with institutions within the space has to basically go through the SEC. But everyone goes through the SEC, so there's no real problem. And I don't really understand why they're taking so long to kind of give this answer to Ripple. Usually for things like this, I usually assume that someone behind the scenes just doesn't like somebody in Ripple, or somebody said something 8 years ago, or there was a cocktail party and everyone's like, hey. Anyway, sure, cool. Wonderful. They keep hiring new people. They're all major names, and I assume, I don't know this woman, but former Chief Regulatory Affairs at JP Morgan, she's probably pretty important. Anyway, that's that news, and let's move away from that photo. Next up, I have to sneeze and it won't come out. Online payments giant PayPal has joined a $142 million Series C investment round, helping major regulated blockchain infrastructure platform Paxos increase its total funding to $240 million. The round was led by Declaration Partners, the investment firm backed by yada yada. Paxos said in a press release, others rich. PayPal is already one of its clients, Credit Suisse, Societe Generale, and Revolut of Paxos. Its technology makes it possible to tokenize, custody, trade, and settle assets. It offers custody, crypto solutions for enterprises, crypto trading, and settlement solutions for securities and commodities. The news being that PayPal is going deeper into the cryptocurrency space. No one should be surprised. And they make like $200 million a month or something like that. Of course, they're going to continue on their trek forward. We're seeing a lot of, and I think this is the solidification of these things kind of coming to be. PayPal's not investing tons of money because they like the sound of Paxos. I've assumed for a while that there were a couple of chains and a couple of websites and a couple of companies that were created as enterprise blockchain solutions. And Paxos is one of them. I think Tezos is also one of them. These were the things that were added to Coinbase, like when no one was asking for Paxos or Tezos to be added to Coinbase or many other platforms, but they did quite rapidly. So I've assumed for a while that there are tons of major names within the cryptocurrency space who have been putting their money into these other companies because they believe in or know that they're going to have all the regulatory approval, and at some point they're going to be able to, what's the word? These will kind of be the go-to places for the big money that's trying to enter the market. A lot of the other smaller companies, and this is why we have been getting news, not quite often, but that this place was shut down. This has no more funding. This wasn't allowed to do this. The SEC shut this down. I think it's because they're trying to make sure that they make way for the companies who either they have money in so that they also profit from it, but also, what's the other thing? Like the things that are willing to be hyper regulated, because the government wants to know where all that money's passing back and forth through. So the news being, like I said, PayPal takes another step into crypto. Did you think they weren't? Did you think that PayPal was like, well, we made money last month, but guys, I think we're rich enough. I think that is all we need. Of course, they're going to continue. I think I can only assume what PayPal actually has planned behind the scenes. I think it's going to terrify a lot of people, because if they're making this much money now from something that they just added onto their platform, the things that have to be going on behind closed doors have to be terrifying. They're probably trying to take over the world. Same exact thing with Bookface. Anyway, that's the PayPal news, and let's move on. And to finish things off, I think the Salvation Army Western Territory, are there different versions? Is now accepting Bitcoin and Ether donations across the US. Announced on Thursday, the charity has partnered with cryptocurrency giving platform InGiven for the new donations, over a century old Salvation Army charity, church, thrift stores, funds, collecting, emergency relief, ongoing programs such as shelters and hospitals. Cool. Everyone's going to be accepting Bitcoin at some point. I'm glad. I don't know why it took so long. And listen, I mean, everything takes time. Sure, why not? As to why so many institutions took a long time to be able to accept Bitcoin, not really sure. But I hope that this does actually help them. I have seen before other celebrities. I think it's a bit weird when somebody donates something and they make sure that it's known that they donate something. It seems a little disingenuous. But it is nice to see that there have been a couple of celebrities and people within the cryptocurrency space who have been donating to worthy causes over the last couple of years in Bitcoin or in Ether. So Salvation Army finally got there. I assume, I'm telling you, nobody's going to be spending their crypto within the next 5 years, but eventually we're going to get to a point where you can just walk by someone, hold up the same happens in China already. People have like QR codes on the street, and you go and you scan their QR code, you enter how much you want to send them and click enter, and then that's how they get the money. We're in the future. Like, this is wild. Like, this is absolutely insane. Anyway, that's the Salvation Army news. And let's move on. I think this is the press release, if you will. InGiven's crypto donation platform selected by the Salvation Army. Wonderful. All right, everybody. I'm exhausted. I think that's definitely going to do it for this video. The cryptocurrency market, we'll see what happens during the rest of the weekend. I'm expecting sideways things just simply because the weekend tends to... While the cryptocurrency market is open 24 hours a day, we need a break. The weekend is usually the time to relax, so prices normally don't skyrocket on Saturdays and Sundays unless like something really major happens. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.